Well, I would say break down the barriers in your mind first and then just go for it. It's really, really good and it's a great programme to be in. I mean, you meet people you'd never met before and hopefully you'll meet again. I have some good friends that came out of it and I'm really glad I done it, and I would invite anybody to join it.
Well, basically I grew up in Brown Square, which was at the bottom of the Shankill, and obviously in 1969 that seen the start of the Troubles. And outside my front door I actually put up a big barbed wire fence, and that was the beginning of the two communities being split. I was 7 years of age at the time, and basically every night there was rioting, there was all sorts of things going on, and as a child at 1 and 2 o'clock in the morning you were getting roused out of your house, brought round into the wee court, which was called Bilton Court, and they had about 25 to 30 kids in a bedroom. They used to have to wet blankets, put them up over the windows and over the doors to keep the CS gas out when all the rioting and all was going on.
In 1969, I was put out of my home, 41 Columbia Street. It was an awful time for everybody, but it was heartbreaking because I had 4 children and 2 of my children were born there.
I got involved in residence group about 25-30 years ago, and it developed from that until being at interfaces and places like that to try and stop the trouble. I was invited onto a course about a year and a half ago, which would take me out of where I felt safe over to the other side. I'm from Ardown, so I was going to meet people on the other side of the road in the Shankill, the Wheatville, place like that there. So we put wary at the start, but when I actually went to the course and met people, I seen that there was a lot in common outside what was happening politically.
Well, my understanding of challenging conversations is to both bring people from troubled areas together and let them speak freely about their experience and their points of view without any inhibitions, and to do it in a respectful way, recognising that people have different points of view and accepting that those differences points of view are genuine and they're entitled to hold them. It's a small step towards breaking down the barriers, not just in Belfast and the Ardown, Shankill areas, but hopefully it'll spread across the whole of Northern Ireland.
Well, Challenging Conversation programme came about as a result of a survey or surveys that we'd undertaken for IFI Peace Walls programme, which technically what TASCIT is. TASCIT's Ardown Shankill Communities in Transition. Part of the thing that we were doing was trying to increase and build confidence between both communities. Some of the surveys then indicated that 60% of people on either side of the interface weren't engaging with each other. And so we felt that we need to do something about that. To how do we increase the engagement?
Obviously, what had happened in the last couple of years, the areas were very, very tense and everything was going, but we decided to take part in it, and it has to be the best decision that we ever made. And that's not my words or my terminology, that's residents are coming back and saying to us that they really enjoyed the programme.
I was given a good piece of advice before I was installed as mayor, that you only think you know your city, and it was an eye-opener for me. There's so much good work going on in Belfast, sometimes right under your nose, that you don't appreciate or you're not maybe fully aware of, and I think the work that the TASCIT group are doing is maybe a good example of that.
When the Challenging Conversations came up, I wanted to participate because for the first time I wanted to meet the people who I'd had all these thoughts towards. I wanted to hear their side of the story, but I also wanted to be able to tell my side of the story, as I felt that was important.
So I thought, right, I'll take it up, and that's what I done. So I went to this grouping, and it was about challenging conversations, trying to get to know how, from my point of view, how the Protestant side of the people were thinking, what they were thinking about us.
Well, just to name it, challenging conversations, it was very challenging. We were sitting across the room from our Catholic neighbours, and some of the questions were really, really hard to take on both sides. But we got there in the end. I've made a couple of good friends from it. I think everybody should do a challenging conversation course.
It's a wee bit worry at the start, but when I actually went to the course and met people, I seen that there was a lot in common.
Bit nervous at first to see how the Catholics would react with us Protestants, and I can honestly say, put my hand on my heart and say it was the best thing I ever done.
The significance as well is not about trying to change somebody's view, it's about presenting them with somebody else's view, and that's a subtly different thing. I don't think it would patronise or insult people to say that the view that you have, no matter what view that is wrong, and you must therefore change it, or you must moderate more. I think it's just about exposing people to a different viewpoint, a different history, a different story, and I think that can only be a good thing.
It was a challenge. It will challenge people to speak honestly and to confront some of the issues that they felt that needed to be addressed. So we were about, as much as possible, getting people to be forthright and frank, but at the same time be respectful of the people they were speaking to, and that's what we tried to do. So we took people into, as I say, areas that historically, politically, culturally they wouldn't have associated with in the past.
Well, coming to this graveyard gave me a great insight to the history of it, some of the people that were buried here. I've just found out that there was a nationalist MP was buried in the graveyard, and you know, we walked around and the person that was doing it was absolutely fantastic. He, you know, we knew everything, and between famine victims and different, you know, brought us to different graves and told us the history of the person that was in them, and it was very, very interesting.
It is a reminder that in the stories of those buried here, you have many, many complexities. And those complexities, when you see them on a headstone, in a sense jolt you. They get you to think about who you are and where you've come from.
Well, I'm Declan Murphy. I'm from Camlock in South Armagh. I'm involved with the Camlock Community Association. We very much are involved in cross-community work and have invited, you know, different people from different areas into the area. Part of our project is to debunk some of the myths of this area and also to get to know people from different communities much better.
I'd never been to Crossmaglen, it's only something I'd seen on TV, so it was nice to get down and see it in real life. Seen a memorial for Kingsmill, and then we went to the barracks and they told us the stories about the barracks and people had been in it, and it was nice to see firsthand rather than just on TV or on the news.
We actually seen the actual camp and where they landed, the helicopter would have landed to drop off their whatever the army camp needed, and to actually see it visually, you know, to see it on TV is a completely different perspective.
I was surprised at just the atmosphere of the event. I thought that I was going along to hear a few conversations and a few stories of what took place, but there's a real sense of celebration and joy in the room. People were genuinely pleased with what it was that they had achieved, what they were part of, and there's a really good atmosphere in the room that night. People were very clearly excited to be part of the programme and excited about the outcomes of it as well.
The overall thing that I got from it was mixing with other people from different religions. So although in my family we have people from nationalist background, so we do, and that includes the ex-Lord Mayor of Belfast, Tom Hartley. But the challenging programme that we did, it meant that we met other people from a nationalist background, and it was as if we'd known each other all our lives, to sit down comfortable no matter where we were, or to go on a trip no matter where we went to. It was actually very, very favourable, and I think any of us who have participated in it have got a lot out of it and have taken a lot away from being part of it.
Yeah, well, I think it's important that we do find out from each other what each other's experiences were like, especially at the start of the conflict here. I think one of the things that has been of huge value here is that people have discussed what happened at the time of the civil rights. We've discussed it from the perspective of those who were involved in organising the Caledon sit-in, and we've heard from people from a different background who have explained what that looked like to them looking in and the issues that raised for them.
From people that were attending that night, they said, we realised that people on the other side experienced the exact same things as we have experienced over the course of the Troubles and since then. And I think people realised how much more they had in common than the differences that existed between them. And I think that if we want to move to a place of reconciliation, we have to recognise that other people are just like ourselves, and that there's really not much of a difference between us. So that's how we move forward, and that's how we build a better society, when we realise that we're all in this together. This is our country. We have to live and work among each other, so we have to get on with one another.